Welcome back to Behind the Educator's Lens, the space where we explore the heart work behind teaching, learning, and leading. I'm your host, Robin Young. If you're new here, make sure to follow me on Instagram at emotional_schools and check out past episodes on Spotify. Today, I am beyond excited to welcome someone whose work has deeply shaped the way many of us think about emotional health, connection, and play and schools. This is Hannah Beach. She is an award-winning educator, author, emotional health consultant, and keynote speaker with more than 25 years of experience supporting children and transforming school cultures. She is the co-author of the #1 Globe and Mail bestseller, Reclaiming Our Students. Great book. If you have not read it, you need to. She's also the creator of the I Can Dance book series, winner of the 2017 Gold International Moonbeam Children's Book Award. In 2017, she was recognized by the Canadian Human Rights Commission as one of 5 featured change makers in Canada. Welcome, Hannah. I have all the goosebumps.
Thank you, Robin. It always seems so weird. When people make a list of things about you, it just like, is she talking about me?
Right?
But thank you. I appreciate your warm welcome, Robin. Thank you.
Well, you've deserved that. So let's start with a little bit of a get to know you round before we dive into some serious stuff, just to get to know you outside of the world that I just introduced. So this or that, coffee or tea?
Oh my gosh, depends on what time you ask me. First coffee, then tea.
To transition to
Coffee.
that is hard.
Coffee.
Early mornings or late nights, books or podcasts? That's okay. That's okay. Both are great. I actually love good audiobooks, so I'm with you. Movement break or quiet reflection?
Ooh, quiet reflection.
Forest walk or ocean view?
Ocean view. That was a hard one.
That is a tough one because the
Yeah.
water and the trees, yikes, so beautiful. Cozy writing nook or vibrant community space?
Cozy writing nook.
And the last one, dancing or journaling?
Definitely dancing.
Not
I but I love dancing. Especially when I'm cooking in the kitchen by myself.
The other day at work, we had a little presentation on the word attuned relationships. And so I chose to do it through interpretive dance of the waves and the moon.
Go big or go home. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for playing along. Let's dive into a little bit about play-based learning. I'm so curious what you can describe for our listeners of what play looks like beyond maybe what we would typically think of early childhood play.
Yeah, here's the thing is that play is a part of all humans across the whole spectrum of life. And it's true that once our hormones hit, what play looks like massively changes. So for example, there's no one thing that is play. Like I ask this question often when I'm at schools and I ask them what play is for them right now. And someone might say hiking. Someone else might say cleaning. Someone else might say puzzles. Someone else might say, I don't know, walking my dog. But what's play for one what's play for one person might be work for another. So there is no unique thing that is play. It's unique to your own psychology. So play is whatever is satisfying to you, if that makes sense. It's uniquely intrinsically engaging. Something about it just satisfies you. So what satisfies one kid might be different than what satisfies another. Some kids, for example, like lining up their toys. Others prefer to talk out little animals. But as we age, once our hormones hit, play kind of moves out of that more physical, imaginary realm into more activities. That might be singing. It might be going for a walk. It's whatever brings us a rest in our bodies and a sense of engagement in our systems. So it shifts as we age.
Would there be a way that I'm so curious because I love that you said that even like cleaning can be play.
Yeah.
Depending on your right. And
I've never once given a workshop, Robin, where I asked the audience where someone didn't answer, at least one person answered the word cleaning.
That is so funny. So do you think then there's hope for those of us who look at it like a chore to change it into play, to want to do it more?
No.
Okay. Bessie house.
I think I'm going to be really honest with you, either you find it's work and you get it done because it needs to get done, or there's something about it that's intrinsically satisfying for you. If you're not a person that's drawn to it, there's something about it that calms you. It's intrinsically satisfying. It's just work and you just get it done. Just like we all have some work that needs to get done. But for others, they do it because it soothes them, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. And so you're either one of those people or I mean, you might be able to make work more fun or tolerable, which is what I often find people do at school, but then they call it play-based learning, but they're actually just trying to make work less horrible, but it's still not then considered play because play is not work. Play is the opposite of work. It's what's something about it is engaging and something in our bodies would do it because we are simply find it satisfying. So it's not.
Love that distinction there that sometimes we get trapped into thinking that we're providing a play-based opportunity. So that immediately made me think in the upper grades, then how would educators integrate play in the upper grades?
So first of all, there's nothing wrong with making work more fun. I don't have a
Hmm.
problem with that, but let's just not call it play. If a
Right.
kid wouldn't do it naturally on their own because it's intrinsically motivating and satisfying to them, I'm just not going to call it play, but it might make the work a little more fun to do, a little bit more
Right.
engaging. And that's
Yeah.
great. So I have no problems with that, but I just don't want to call it play.
Right.
What I'm seeing right now, so I'm just going to sort of back up a little bit here to answer that question. Okay, so this is the very first generation of kids ever since the dawn of time, since humans have been humans, that we have not had a play that children have not had a play-based childhood. So
Mm.
this has never happened in all of history, ever. So we are the first cohort of educators to ever be leading children who don't have a play-based childhood. And so many of them are bringing with them the behaviors that make it really difficult to lead them and to teach. And so now this conversation about play is no longer in the preschool and kindergarten classrooms. I'm even addressing it in the high schools, forgetting even just elementary schools. Even high schools are saying, okay, so what do we do? Because our students actually lost the brain wiring and the things that they would have got from play in their childhoods, they don't have, and they're addicted to dopamine on top of it. So what do we now do? And
Mm.
so this conversation is across all grades, looking at, okay, so maybe we can't change. It's not even about taking away from the curriculum time. It's not even about, can we just rethink what we're doing at recess? Can we rethink
Mm.
recess? Can we rethink the spare time that we already have and perhaps look at that time differently? Because teachers have a lot of what we call sort of initiation exhaustion. They're like,
Mhm.
please don't tell me one more thing to do. Like I am at my absolute limit. Are you now telling me I have to get the kids to play? I don't even have time to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And so this is supposed to help teachers not make it more work, if that makes sense. And so a lot of the high schools are just looking at, well, what can we do differently at recess? What can we do differently at lunchtime? How can we bring in what we call emotional playgrounds, which are often arts-based things that help move emotion in the body? How can we bring this into our classrooms? And the times are already doing stuff anyways. So it's not about making work tolerable. It's about like we replaced play with entertainment in
Mhm.
Western culture. So now we have historically children would have played for hours outside every day a generation ago, every day. And now they don't have that. And so they're not really coping in the same way at school. So all of a sudden teachers are having to have conversations that they never had to have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I was in a classroom this morning supporting a teacher, and she mentioned to me that exactly what you just said. She was teaching grade 5, so 10 and 11. And she said that she had this pocket of time where she decided to let them play, like whatever they wanted. And she provided all these different things. And what she noted was some of them didn't even know what to do with that time. Like they actually spent the whole time pacing the room or circling the room. They couldn't engage in the different activities. And she had put out paints and playing cards and games and filled the space with fun and different choices and different textures. And yet they couldn't even approach it. It was almost like a picky eater scenario, but in play.
Yeah, well, we have a generation of children who haven't had what we call free play. So their play has been replaced with entertainment, and in the extra time, it's been replaced with structured activities like soccer, hockey, dance, etc., or their parents playing with them. So if you have a parent playing with you, or you're in structured activities, or you're being stimulated by a device, you're not in what's called free play. So free play is when a child is not of those things. They're supposed to be able to be in this void of stimulation, and something's supposed to call them inside their being that says, oh, like I want to draw something, or I want to go build a tower or build a fort or whatever the thing may be, play with my car, whatever. And it's like children aren't hearing their inner selves, but there's massive ramifications on children's sense of identity when this goes away. We will change teenagehood and we will change their adulthood because play is the place where the self percolates. And so if I can explain what I mean by that, like I spent a lot of my life working with teenagers, and many of them, the groups that I ran groups for vulnerable girls. And I'm going to kind of sort of show you how this works. A lot of the girls, some of the girls, I should say, that I was working with had come out of sex work. And they'd come out of really challenged backgrounds in life, really hard lives, a lot of trauma. And their schools were teaching them all about consent, sexual consent. Great. Of course, I agree with teaching kids sexual consent. That's a no-brainer. It's obvious. But it was irrelevant for the girls I worked with because any single person who'd asked them for anything, any boy had said, hey, can you have sex or can you do this for me or whatever, they would have said yes because they didn't have a self. So were they giving consent? Yes, technically, but they didn't know what they were giving away. They didn't know what they liked. They didn't know who they were. They didn't know what they wanted. The self is grown in childhood in those experiences where you develop a relationship with your inner world. In the void, you hear, that's what I want to do, or that's what my voice is saying. Without those experiences, you become a teenager who just laughs at jokes, like you pretend to like music everybody else likes. You laugh at jokes you don't even get. You are not you. You don't know who you are. And so there's massive repercussions, actually, on the shift right now. And this is something, as you're saying, that you heard in the classroom this morning, I'm hearing this everywhere, that children, it's like you're giving them the opportunities, but they don't know what to do. They don't hear their world inside. If you have devices that travel with kids, like iPads and cell phones, and again, by the way, I'm not some weirdo, I'm not against cell phones or video games or anything. My kids love video games. I'm not against them, but they're not the same thing as free play. If a child doesn't know how to sit with themselves, to feel what's inside, they need to be constantly distracted, or they don't know how to fill that void with them, they will fill it without the outside world instead. And they'll never be able to bring their full self into the world.
That is a very scary reality that I think it scares me to think how many kids I see in that state and how much we really do need everybody to start making policies that recognize that at the core and then build outwards. And I think that could be where we could turn things around. But, I also just see this increase in violence, and I wonder if those things are connected to.
I think so, for a few reasons, actually, Robin. We require our feelings in order to have impulse control, and we also require our feelings to have empathy. Like, impulse control isn't inevitable. Like, we're all going to get old, but we're not all going to grow up. Like, I know lots of adults who don't have impulse control. Like, I know lots of adults who just yell whenever they feel anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Impulse control requires, it's our feelings that facilitate maturation. I have to be like, I'm really mad. Like a kid wants to go, like, I want to hit you, but they have to have the other feeling that says, but I actually care about you. Or maybe they don't care about you. Maybe it's like, but I just don't want to get into trouble. Whatever that other feeling has, they have to be able to have their access to their feelings inside their body. And we have an entire generation of children who are distracted from the moment they wake up till the moment they go to sleep. So there's no access to their inner world to reflect, to feel, to think. And so we're not shifting in the ways that we should be. And also, play was always, it's interesting because I'm talking about the home life here, but we can't not talk about home life even though schools have no control over it, we have to understand who the kids are as they're coming. Yeah. We never used to have play dates. Play dates is a very new phenomenon, and it's only a
weird word.
I know. It is a weird word, but it's only a Western phenomenon, by the way. This is still not a worldwide phenomenon. In a lot of places, if you bring this up, people will be like, you do what? You drive your 3-year-old where? Like, what? We used to have to play with our siblings or our parents, friends, kids, or our cousins, or whoever lived in the cul-de-sac. Eventually, you're desperate. You play with the weird kid down the block. But eventually, you might play with the weird kid down the block because you're desperate. Right. Now, what that did is that it it brought kids who were not necessarily similar together to play. And in doing so, you would create friendships or bond or have empathy or understand people who might be different than you. Right now, we have kids playing with like kind all the time. We never had this. You had to play with whoever was there, and it was a social bonder. My younger brother, has Down syndrome. He was my closest playmate. He wasn't that verbal for many years. I had to learn to play with his world. He had to learn to play with my world. It's what you do as children. And now we don't have the same kind of play that connects us as kids for children.
You were mentioning the neighborhood, and I couldn't help but think about my neighborhood. Growing up across the street, we had there were 8 kids in the house. And then across the way, there were another 2. Beside us, there were 3. On the corner, there were a few more. And I remember this moment in grade 2, probably, saying to my mom, you know what, I think I can walk to school now. And she was there with my little sister, and she said, okay, I think it'll be fine too. And off we went as a pack for years. And when I went to go purchase a house, that's the type of neighborhood that I looked for. And I've got it as close as I can get. There's hockey nets ruling the street. And, it's kind of a culture on this little street.
And there's still ways to develop that kind of culture, even if you live in an apartment downtown in an urban environment. Because I don't want people to think they all have to move to the countryside to have their children have emotional health. It's not realistic for many families. But I'll give you an example, sort of. One of the things we realize is that kind of childhood where children have some freedom to take risks and to play without their grown-ups, it develops courage in children. And so you have children who are have less anxiety. And so what happens right now often is that we've turned play into performance. So remember when we were kids? So you definitely look a lot younger than me. But when I was a kid. Okay. I was a kid. I'll put it that way instead. I won't include you in my age bracket. If I'd gone to the park, my mom wouldn't have come with me. Okay, in my age bracket, if you went to the park, your parents weren't there. We were outside playing without our grown-ups. We knew where they were should we need one, but they were not with us. I'm the youngest of 9. I would have come home from school. My mom would have given me a snack and she would have sent me outside to play. If I'd said I don't feel like it, she'd be like, this is not a democracy. No one was actually asking you. Out you go. That's it. Come back in at supper time. This was every kid. My mom wasn't reading books on the psychology of play. They did not exist because the culture was taking care of us. Those books didn't need to be written yet. So we were outside playing. Now, I was at the park not that long ago going for a walk, and I'm watching families in the park. Every parent, pretty much, was right behind their child talking to them. Okay? Not sitting on the bench, not chatting with the other parents, but right behind them. There was a little boy, I'd say he was about 9, if I was going to guess, going down a slide. And he wasn't little, wasn't like a toddler or something. So he's going down the slide. The mom's at the bottom and she's like, good job, good job. And I'm like, oh my gosh, first of all, it's gravity. Let's be serious. The kid did nothing but sit. Okay. But here's the problem. When you congratulate a child for playing, you turn it into what we call pursuit behavior. Like, watch me on the swing. Look how high I can go. Watch me. Did I do it good, Mom? Did I do it good, Dad? Or to the teacher, did you see me? Did you see me? As opposed to the child having simply the experience of emotional rest. I went down the slide simply because it felt good. Now, I know this mom, by the way, was being super loving. I know that. It was much harder to do that than it is to just sit on the bench and read a book. So she was doing what she felt was the right thing to do. But we can still give our children, let's say you had to go to the park. Let's say you don't live in a neighborhood like you. Let's say you brought your kids to the park. You could sit on the bench and read a book and say, you got this. Enjoy yourself. Listen to your body. Does your body say you can climb that high? If it does, well, listen to your body. So that children start to calibrate their own alarm systems so that they can start to it'll take time. If kids are used to you commenting on every single thing you do, it'll take a little bit of time for them to adjust to that. But we know we used to play outdoors for hours a day. And those slightly raised cortisol that would kind of freak us out that in our system, but was also felt safe because we were playing and we were engaged, is kind of like getting an inoculation. It's like getting a flu shot. What it does is it calibrates the alarm system so that you feel scared and excited at the same time. And it shifts the body system. At many experiences of this, you develop the ability to cope with anxiety. And if you don't have that, you get kids in their 20s who are calling home from the grocery store because they don't know what cheese to buy, because they can't make any decisions. They don't know what to do with it. Small things then seem scary. Talking to a teacher, asking a store person, a clerk, a question, what might be should be slightly nerve-wracking becomes terrifying because the body system was meant to be calibrated in childhood through daily experiences with elevated fear while being engaged. Does that make sense to you?
That makes so much sense. And also I can see, like as a mom as well, how I can then instantly do some very small things to, like send them down the street to go collect the mail.
That's right. That's right. It doesn't have to be you live in the countryside, you can play hockey on the street. Great if you have that. Wonderful. But you don't need that. It
Right.
means maybe at the park, you're like, a child says, instead of helping them up, you say, how high does your body, how high does your body say you can go? You got this. You go play and you can watch them from the bench if you're worried, but give them the sense that they're okay. Do you know what I mean? Like give them the sense that they're good with this and give them some little freedoms that will allow them to do this. I mean, because the other thing is like kids process play is not this little extra thing on the side of life that's kind of helpful for child development. It is absolutely necessary to child development. It's where kids process their greatest fears. It's where they develop courage, but it's also where kids process fears. And I mean, some of the research around this looks at the studies of kids' books. One of the most common themes in play and children's books from ages around 4 to about 16 is the most same common theme in the whole world. And you think, how could kids ages 4 to 16 have the same interest? But the most common theme in the whole world is being orphaned in children's literature. Children are driven in absolute droves all around the world, in every culture that was studied, to read books in which they've been orphaned. Like, think about it for a moment. Like Harry Potter, Anne of Green Gables, Frozen, Bambi, Lion King, Boxcar Children, Peter Pan,
Yes.
Annie, Oliver, Lion King, Secret Garden, Batman, Superman, Star Wars. Like you could just go on and on and on.
You're right.
Children's authors know this. Like if you want a bestseller, you have to kill the parents. Like that's kind of how it works. Anyway, but there's a reason for this because a child's greatest need is attachment. Because human babies wouldn't survive without their grown-ups. We can't walk, we can't talk, we can't even emotionally take care of ourselves. We can't regulate without our grown-ups, nothing. And so a child's greatest fear is losing their grown-ups. And so what happens is they process this one step removed through play or through books or through play. So it's not them. It's like, I didn't lose my grown-up, my character, the character did. And not only do these characters survive, they thrive. Like Harry Potter, it's become a wizard, or Superman. They can fly, take care of the whole world. So these are attachment thriving stories that deeply soothe a child's psychology. And once we understand that play's doing that, we're like, oh, well, no wonder kids aren't coping since we took away play. Play is taking care of children's psychology. Play takes care of emotion. Emotion drives behavior. So if you take play out of a culture, behavior goes crazy.
That's why you're an expert, because you were just able to break that down in 3 steps. Like what I've been thinking about, I think my whole life, like how does one feed into the other and where is it? But you just laid that out so clearly that play informs everything else.
That's why when we say play-based learning, I'm like, what, are you trying to make worksheets fun? Because that's not play. Let's look really at what play is. And so that we can provide the necessary experiences for our students at lunchtime or recess when you're not even having to change what you're doing in the classroom necessarily, to provide them the out breath they need, because entertainment's the in breath, play's the out breath, and we have kids who are breathing like in and in and in and in and in, and it's making our lives really difficult, and it's making kids' life really difficult too. I mean, kids aren't enjoying it. They're not at emotional rest. They're stressed. I mean, we have more anxious and aggressive kids and shut down like whatever, who cares, doesn't matter. Like hoodies up, sunken into their bodies, no curiosity in their bodies. We're seeing this more and more and more. Their body systems are shutting down. And so I think that we also have a misunderstanding. Just going to grab some water here. Play's supposed to be fun, and lots of play is not fun. Lots of play is not fun. And this under the psychological term, psychology of play, there is no word fun in there, actually, if you define play. Yeah, the word is engaging, actually. And that's really important for us to know, I'd say, as teachers, especially elementary teachers who are trying to wire kids' brains, because you can't teach the brain to wire. You can only create experiences that result in the brain wiring. And so if we think play is supposed to be fun, we stop kids from playing when they're frustrated. But it's actually frustration play that wires the brain to lower aggression. So it's sort of like this. Okay, so I have 3 kids. My kids are like older. So my kids are 33, 31, and 17. So a big gap between number 2 and number 3. But baby number 3, who's now known baby because he's in grade 12. But when he was little, like sometimes when he'd be playing Lego, he'd have an idea in his head, like of what he wanted to build, but he couldn't make it look like that. So let's say when he's around 5, and he's like crying because he's like, it won't work. He's like trying to make this thing. He has this great idea, but it's not translating, and the whole thing's falling apart, and he's sobbing, and tears are coming down his face. Would I say he's having fun while he's playing? No, my kid's sobbing while he's playing. Fun is definitely not the right word. Is he engaged? Yeah, 1,000%. This is absolutely key for us to understand if we're going to try and shift the academic success of our students. If how the brain works is in free play, the kid is doing it because they want to. I don't care if my kid's playing Lego. Couldn't care less if he's playing Lego or not. He wants to play Lego. So what's happening is the brain works very hard to master something with no adult reward. No adult saying, you got this, buddy. No one saying, I'm going to give you something if you finish it. I don't care whether he's playing Lego. He's doing it for himself. So the brain starts to wire to work really hard for itself. So what happens is you then get kids who can get through hard things like their homework or eventually, high school, university, whatever. When something's really hard, their brain goes, man, I don't like this. And then their brain goes, it's okay, buddy. You've been here hundreds of times. You're going to be just fine. I recognize this. You're going to be okay, without any adult soothing them, because the brain has learned that experience time and time again through experiences of things that are really hard to do. That's why children are hardwired to do frustrating things.
That is mind-blowing, because I feel like sometimes this argument comes up of like that if you're allowing play to happen, that you're wasting time, right? But it actually sounds like that could be the best use of your time if you want your child to have academic success, if you want them to face hard things.
I wanted my children to be extremely successful, like you. Who doesn't? Everybody wants their kids to be successful, but you can't teach a child to be successful. You have to create the conditions which success is the fruit, right? It's sort of like a plant. If I want my plant to grow, I can't pull at my plant. I have to water it, I have to nurture it. You can't tell a brain to wire. I can't make a child curious. I can create the conditions that make curiosity more likely, but I can't make you curious. I can't make you like me. I can't make you feel a single thing. I can create the conditions that make it more likely that you'll become empathic or more likely, but I can't just tell you to be kind that will make you kind. I can't tell you anything. I can't make anybody change. The brain changes through experiences. And so that's why so many playgrounds now, even in middle school now they're doing this, are what we call loose parts playgrounds. Massive shift, massive. I just finished writing an article for Maclean's magazine about the MAT cluster movement from parents and schools across Canada moving to this, because there was a time we didn't have to think about this because kids played at home every day outside. But they're not. And so teachers are like, well, we can try and convince the parents, which is great. And I'm doing as many parent talks as I can. But in the meantime, what can we do at school? So the type of things where kids have to drag logs or build forts or move a tarp or do something that's hard and it keeps falling down and build it again and it keeps falling down. That's the frustrating play that's engaging, that wires the brain, that makes kids more resilient, unlike gross motor play, like running around or going down a slide.
Also, that sounds like a lot of, I know you said play and fun are not necessarily synonymous, but it sounds like a lot of fun. And I can imagine those kids, they also could be frustrated when their fort gets knocked over by somebody else, right?
But they're engaged. Like, it's really hard work. Like, you might see kids working for half an hour dragging a large log across the yard. I don't know if fun, like they're grunting, but they're into it. They're engaged. They're wanting to do it. No one's asking them to. They're like, we're going to do this, and we're going to get it going, and we're going to build it. And for some schools, they don't have, outdoor plays like that. So they're having it with other types of loose parts. I watch them right now all on, people come to my workshops and then post their things they're doing it with milk crates. And some inner city schools only have cement, so they don't have, but they're doing it in ways that kids can manipulate and move things in the ways that their natural drive would. So I guess you could say it's fun, but not the type of fun where you see wee laughter.
Right.
Does that make sense? Sometimes it's frustrating, but they want to do it. So it's frustration play that you want to do. It has to be that you want to do, or the brain's not wiring for itself.
I love how you mentioned you can do it in different environments, because I know working with some administrators, they would be like, I do not want those kids to come in all dirty, right? Which is probably, I would say, probably one of the best things that they could come in as, having a little bit of dirt underneath the fingernails. But that is a common announcement that I hear is stay out of that mud. Do not come back inside dirty. And the other day it was pouring rain and the direction was do not come back inside wet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we just choose our pain. We can have, we can
Right.
have muddy, wet kids, or we can have kids who are easier to teach. We're going against biology. Like all mammals release frustration through play. This is what we do. I mean, all mammals roughhouse or roll around and all these things. And that's a big shift I've seen now in schools as well, especially the schools that I work with in because I partner with school boards, and some of my partner boards are in Ontario, and they used to be like no throwing snowballs. And now they're like,
Right.
what were we possibly thinking? Now we say, okay, you can't throw them at people, but let's build giant targets. Let's put hula hoops on all the fences so that you have small targets, big ones, or let's fill the bottles halfway with sand so that you can whip it at them and knock them down. Or people used to say, okay, you can't play guns or you can't pick up a stick. And I'm like, okay, so how about you say we don't play guns at school because it doesn't feel safe, but here's what you can do instead. And so now a lot of schools have cordoned off areas with cones, and they have tons of pool noodles on there, and the kids have pool noodle sword fights. Basically, they just whack each other over the head with pool noodles. But it's like, if you don't make room for some of that attacking energy that's in a child to come out and play, it just comes out in real life. So let it out somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, and so schools are now recognizing we didn't used to think about this because kids used to go home and play. And now they're not. We now overprotect kids in the physical world and we underprotect kids on the online world. Like we have the whole thing reversed. And so we have a lot of kids who are waking up on a device. They're on a device during breakfast. They're on a device in the car. They show up at school. They're completely saturated up to here. They've had no out breath. Then they're expected to be able to sit and learn. And then they go after school into the vehicle and they go from structured activity to structured activity, back to a device in between, eat in the car. Maybe their grown-ups are on devices as well, so they're not even getting their eye contact needs met. They're not getting their relational needs met. And then they go to bed and they do the whole thing all over again. And then we have to teach them. So it's like, how do we say, okay, this is what's happening right now. How do we create some spaces for kids to get the things out that they need to get out and develop the courage they need to be able to be healthy humans and the resilience that they need?
That is so inspirational to hear that despite we have a long way to go, that there are some schools that are making these shifts and also, removing the stigma from the children who play in that manner.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a difference between risky play and hazardous play. So we do need to make sure people are, safe. But yeah, we do have to recognize though that children need to move their bodies, and this type of risky play or engaging sort of what we might call more aggressive play is hardwired into many children, and kids with a lot of testosterone tend to need it even more. And so that sort of rough and tumble play is really being embraced by school boards all across Canada. I'm seeing it in droves, and families understanding the need for it as well, and understanding, how it works in the body system. I mean, Eastern Townships outside of Montreal, phenomenal. They're rough and tumble zones. They have it for grades 4 and up in their schools. They got posters at their schools that say things like, here's what you're allowed to do. You're allowed to push. You're allowed to throw yourselves on top of people. Here's what you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to bite. You're not allowed to hit. And before you start, they have rules. So they have like this area where you go in and you have to get parent permission forms and you have to wear a snowsuit and all the things. Otherwise, you have to have mats down. But they have this rule that you have to have eye contact first. So like, let's say you and I, Robin, were there. I'd be like looking at you. You'd be looking at me. And I'm like, okay, Robin, are we about to do this? Like, is this about to happen? And then we have to look at each other in the eye, kind of like how dogs do that thing, like they do that thing. Yeah. Are we about to do this? Like, is this going to happen? And then we make eye contact, we have to nod, and then we're allowed to go into rough and tumble play. It's teaching consent. It's teaching, and then when someone says no, there's a word, like the word no, you have to stop that second. And if you don't, the teacher's like, Hannah, out now. Not like, oh, Hannah, sweetheart. There's no more chances, and you're not allowed to return for another week. And the kids are doing it because they're obsessed. They love the rough and tumble play. The kids are lined up because only so many people are allowed in the rough and tumble zone at a time. And there's rules around it. I'm synthesizing it down, but there's lots of rules around it, but it's so successful. And I was there last year when all the principals were sharing their statistics of physical aggression and violence and how much they'd been reduced since the children were learning what their limits were, listening to the other person. This is when I can do it. This person said, stop. I need to stop. I have the eye contact that says, yes, go. This is what I can do. I can pin them down. I can hold them. Like all the things that we would have done naturally in life before we kind of took away kids' play.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy how much now, how many schools now are going, okay, we're going to figure this out and we're going to do it in a way that works instead of going against a child's biology. Let's go with it and do it in a way that's safe.
I want
In a
to
way
take a
that's
field
safe.
trip to Montreal.
You know what? I just sent another board to Montreal to check out, it was actually the Eastern Townships for this, to check out their nurturing support centers. I don't know if you know what those are, but they opened up nurturing support centers in all of their schools. These incredible rooms for emotion, but what they are is where they're not dumping grounds for the difficult kids, which sometimes it happens otherwise. When a kid's difficult, you just send them away. They're very purposeful rooms, which there's a relationship developed with a caring adult who they go at certain times and oh my gosh, they are so successful. So I was just chatting with them with another board and they just sent two of their staff. They flew over to visit them and did a little tour of theirs. It's incredible to see. What I find so heartwarming right now is how schools are all sharing in this way. Here's what we're doing.
Yes.
Come see. Come see what we're doing with our play. Come seeing what we're doing with our relationship building with the grown-ups. All the things that they're doing together. Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's successful. It's really
Yes.
successful too. And it's in schools. Some of the schools are, pretty tough schools. And the kids follow the rules. They follow the rules of it because they really want to join in. And not everyone engages. Like, I don't think as a child I would have been that kid. I didn't like rough and tumble play.
Right.
So it wouldn't have called me, but it's calling some children. And
Right.
that's a thing. And if it makes it easier to teach and the child's more emotionally at rest, that's fantastic. And, you mentioned hope a minute ago, Robin. We have a lot of teachers right now who are so exhausted that they're
Yes.
not feeling hopeful. And I understand. There's a lot of cynicism. Well, I've tried that. Like, I don't know, like it's, but honestly, hope I think is like the greatest act of courage that we can have right now. It's like in hope, you're basically like, I'm all in. This is going to work. And I feel like when you first introduced me, you said something about my our book, Tamara Nar's book, reaching #1 on the Global Mail's bestsellers list. This is about educators. This isn't about me. I don't even take any ego in that. What I take is, wow, look at what educators are doing to change the world. Because when my publisher emailed me to say congratulations, because I didn't even know, because I don't read the Global Mail, to tell you the truth, so I didn't know. I thought, she's like, no books for teachers reach a Global Mail's bestsellers list. That's not normal, actually. And what it means is teachers right now are the ones creating change worldwide. Families might have 1 or 2 or 3, 4 kids. Teachers have 30 at once, and they're saying, we're not coping. This isn't working. Students are suffering. Those of us that lead and care for them aren't coping either. We're going to do something differently. We're going to understand attachment. As you know, my book is a lot on attachment and relationship, and we're going to understand play. So educators really, in my opinion right now, are the ones spearheading change for children across Canada in a way that I've never seen before, actually. It's really inspiring.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. That's how I heard about you first, was from other teachers just saying what a message is in that book that so resonates with where they're at. And sometimes I think sometimes we feel unseen or that nobody really understands. And I think that every word of that book showed that somebody is listening, right? And that somebody really, really cares, right?
And I think that if we keep trying to change kids in the ways that, like, we don't change by force. We have to understand attachment. And as you know, the book is a lot on attachment. A lot of people think attachment's about being nice. Attachment is not about being nice. If attachment was about being nice, if you were nice to kids, they would be doing well. Attachment is about safety. And kids feel safe when they have loving adults who are in charge of them, not caring friends, but caring leaders. And so once we understand how attachment works and what our students need from us to feel safe, it can really shift the way kids can rest on us emotionally. Because a lot of people are nice to kids, but they don't understand that it also means they have to be lovingly in charge. They need to be anchored and firm. They need to be strong leaders. It's not just about being nice to kids. It's like, I was recently consulting the school, and obviously I'm not going to say the name of it, but I was consulting the school, and this fantastic teacher came up to me, and he was about, I think, grade 3 teacher. And he said to me, I'm the nicest teacher in the school. I make applesauce with the kids. I play guitar with them. But the kids, he really was a nice teacher, but he said, but the kids don't listen to me. And I know it's not the kids to know it's me because they listen to all the other teachers. But I know I'm nicer than the other teachers. So he's like, do you mind coming? Because I was at this city for a week to consult. He's like, do you mind coming into my classroom to watch me, to tell me like what I'm not doing or what I'm doing wrong? Because I want to be a good teacher. And first of all, I thought, oh my gosh, like how amazing is this? I would never ask somebody to come watch me teach and tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm way too insecure. Like I'm like, if you don't like me, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what I'm doing wrong. Don't watch me and tell me. But he was this amazing guy. So I go into the classroom and watch him, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it was so clear to me that he didn't understand attachment. He was trying to be the kid's friend. Everything he asked them, he'd be like, do you want to make a circle, okay? Do you want to line up at the door, okay, everyone? And I'm thinking, why is he putting the word okay on the end of every sentence? Why is he asking them? Like, is it a choice? Are the kids allowed to like say no? Instead of saying it's circle time, we're making a circle. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Because when children sense their adults are hesitant, they don't attach in the same way. They have to have the sense that their adult is warm and their eyes light up when they walk in the room and that they want to teach them, but they also have to have the sense that their grown-up is in charge in a loving, providing way, not a power way in any way, just anchored, if that makes sense. He was like the fun uncle, basically, who could visit, but good luck getting the kids to bed.
Joey's.
Exactly. And so I think once we understand play and attachment,
And you know what? That's a small shift, but a shift that makes an impact. So attachment is not being kind. Attachment could be being kind.
includes being kind.
It includes it.
Includes being,
But we're
yes.
trying to be safe here. And we are trying
Emotionally
to, yes, emotionally
That's right.
safe. I love that.
Because I'm not attached to my students. I care about my students very much, but I'm not attached to them. I don't need to be. My students need to be attached to me. They need to
Yeah.
feel safe in my presence. They need to be able to look to me as their compass point. They need to be able to feel safe that I'm going to provide for them and take care of things as needed. I'm not attached to my students, but I care for them, many of them very deeply. But attached, no. They need to be attached to me. And that's why you'll read through the whole book, we say student-teacher relationship, student-teacher relationship, because it's how the child experiences the relationship that matters. Do they feel safe with me? Do they look up to my as a compass point? Do they want to follow my directions? Because you only have two ways to get kids to behave. One is leverage, like consequences, bribes, punishments, and the other is attachment. Toughest kids couldn't care less about consequences. Fine, take away. Didn't want the dumb pizza anyways. I don't care. Don't send me up for recess. Doesn't matter. Stupid. Didn't want it anyways. Toughest kids, consequences don't work for. So the very people we make consequences for, consequences don't work for. So we only have attachment left. Yeah.
Could be why like class point systems only work for so long, or if you're bribing with candy or whatever.
And it's only going to last for the kids who aren't super shut down. Kids who've been hurt a lot, it's kind of like I'm going to break up with you before you break up with me. They'll care about nothing. If you say to them, hey, if you get this work done, you're gonna have pizza on Friday. I don't care. I don't want the dumb pizza anyways. Pizza's stupid. Because it's like if I care about nothing, I can never get hurt. And so their defense system is protecting them from caring about anything. So the more you try to bribe or reward those children, the more they shut down. And so it doesn't even work anyways.
It makes it harder.
Yeah, it makes it harder. Yeah, that's right.
So I've kept you for this amazing hour, which I really do think that anybody who works with kids should listen to your beautiful advice. But before I let you go, if there was one magical wand that you could wave and design like the Hannah Beach School of Education, I'm not going to make you design the whole school, but I want to know the top 3 things that you would start with.
Yeah, I think that we have to remember we're human. And so I would say relationship and understanding, a deep understanding what that means, that we learn in connection with people, with each other, and that we had rich play experiences. So I'd say play, connection, and I'd also say in the Hannah Beach School that we would eat together. Yeah, I think that we feed children. We forget that eating together is an experience of attachment. It's not about refueling or getting our calories. And it's like there's a market near me that has these bumper stickers that say we're so far behind, we think we're first. And I've always loved those bumper stickers because it's like I feel right now like people are thinking they're inventing this new thing like loose parts play or relationship or eating together. It's like, no, we're just going back. It's not like we're going back to the olden days and the good old days. There's lots of wonderful things about technology. It's amazing. But we're going back to what made us healthy in the first place. Eating together, playing, and being in real vulnerable human connection. Not just, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for being open and vulnerable with me and sharing all of your fantastic stories.
Thanks, Robin. Thank you.
Well, thank you for another episode of Behind the Educator's Lens. Tune in next time to hear more of the heart of teaching.